authenticity of the shroud is primarily simply a question of, well, is this a real crime? Was there a real person? Was there a real person who was scourged and crucified in this cloth? If we were in a court of law, the only testimony that would be credible, one in which we could base a decision beyond reasonable doubt, would be from a battlefield surgeon, for example. Dr. Pierre Barbet, the authenticity of the shroud from the point of view of anatomy and physiology is a scientific fact. Dr. Robert Bucklin, who did an estimated 25,000 autopsies, considered one of the top forensic pathologists in the world. The markings on this image are so clear and so medically accurate, the pathological facts would say the suffering and death of the man depicted here are beyond dispute. Dr. Frederick Zugibe, chief medical examiner of Rockland County, New York, who spent 50 years of his life on this case file. Dr. Frederick Zugibe, do you believe this cloth to be authentic? His response, I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever. Dr. Robert Bucklin again, it's not an unreasonable conclusion for the forensic pathologist to determine that only one person historically has undergone this sequence of events. That person is Jesus Christ. Look at the sequence of events. The unique wounds in specific places, scourged and crucified, right side pierced. The cap of thorns, the puncture wounds around the head. Part of the beard is plucked out. Cheeks are bruised. The back has been plowed on. The body was laid in a long sheet of linen, and the body was removed from the linen before decomposition set in. And as a result of removing the body from this linen, there's some type of interaction between the cloth and the body, leaving behind what? A photo-negative X-ray holographic image, with the resolution of that of a modern-day laser printer. The combination of all the unique wounds in specific places on the shroud are the mathematical equivalent of a very unique fingerprint of evidence that can only be one person. There are no duplicates of fingerprints in the world population, not even in identical twins. Leaving behind a fingerprint at a crime scene is better than leaving your DNA. There is no chance that fingerprint can be someone else, a 0% chance. And there's a 12-foot-long fingerprint on the shroud. We all know who that fingerprint belongs to without me having to say it. The truth is written inside each one of us. God wrote it into our DNA. The challenge is, how brutally honest with ourselves can we be? The man in the shroud challenges us to be honest with ourselves, to look inward instead of outward. Those are where the real treasures are found, and where the questions we seek to be answered can be found, and also where the real problems are that need to be fixed. Dr. Sebastiano Rodante, the perfect correspondence of the forehead blood clots, gives us the certainty that the shroud covered the corpse of a man who, while alive, endured the lesion of these blood vessels. Professor Malcolm Cameron, a professor of forensic medicine, from the evidence of the bloodstains alone, this is clearly not a human forgery. Dr. Gilbert Lavoie, there is no question there was a crucified man in this cloth. Dr. Hermann Motor, a radiologist from Germany, the shroud was used to enshroud a corpse, and the image is the result of some form of interaction between the body and the cloth, and does not result from the use of paint, powder, acid, or other materials which could have been used to create an image on this linen. Dr. Sam Pellicori, an optical engineer, the remarkably fine detailing of the scourge marks revealed by UV fluorescence would be impossible to obtain by any other means than direct contact between a body, not a mannequin, not a sculpture, it's not a painting, between a body and the linen. Dr. Max Frey, a forensic botanist, the head of the Forensic Science Police Department in Switzerland. I can affirm without fear of being proven wrong, this cloth dates back to Palestine 2,000 years ago. A Swiss textile expert in regards to the age of the cloth. There have been attempts to date the shroud But the style of sewing is the biggest clue. It belongs firmly to a style seen in the 1st century AD or before. Dr. John Heller, a biophysicist. The blood is in fact real blood, confirmed by presence of heme, porphyrins, bile pigments, and serum albumin, confirmed also by spectrographic analysis. And what does that mean, Dr. Alan Adler? That means that the red stuff on the shroud is emphatically and without any reservation nothing else but blood. Dr. Baima Bologna, a professor of forensic pathology. All of this proves and confirms that on the shroud there are effectively real and complete bloodstains conserved in their various components. So here we are, like I said at the beginning of this presentation. If you had a $100 bill in question, or a stack of $100 bills that you found, and you brought them to 12 different banks, and every bank that examined the bill said, these are authentic, would you then say afterwards, I'm still not convinced, I still think these might be fake? No way. This is a book called Wrapped Up in the Shroud by Joseph Marino. This is his wife, Sue Benford. And she says, according to her testimony, had a communication with Jesus. He told me that the shroud was like a fingerprint left behind for us to discover when we were ready. I didn't know anything about a shroud until he told me. When I first saw the image, I could barely breathe. The only words that would come to me, and I remember how unusual the words were to me at that time, was my Savior. Still to this day, I cannot look at the shroud without having the exact same emotional response. Plus, the shroud image looks exactly like the being I had been talking to for months. I know it's him. I know it's him. I know it's him. I'll tell you why I like that statement. Because her yes is yes, and her no is no. Jesus said, let your yes be yes and let your no be no. More than this comes from the evil one. She has what we would call what? Certainty. And she says, the shroud is like a fingerprint left behind for us to discover when we were ready. Jesus doesn't force himself upon people. When you're ready, take a look at this. When you're ready. And maybe right now is the time, the person watching this video, maybe you're ready and maybe you're not. Jesus offers us a genuine rose that is everlasting. The world offers us a paper rose. The Shroud of Turin is the most powerful witness in the world who tells the most powerful truth. May that truth set you free forever, 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 forever.